Hey everybody, Andrew here with my brother-in-law Paul, and he has been turning chestnuts into flour for several years now. So Paul, what got you started into turning chestnuts into flour?
Sure. So we have 3 kids, and one of them has gluten issues. So I found out I'd already been using the chestnuts for roasting or for beer recipes. So I found out that it was gluten-free option to make pancakes or bread or cupcakes, whatever, and tried it out.
All right, so take me through the process. We've been working on this a little bit last night and tonight. So obviously, first pick up the chestnuts when they've fallen from the trees. So how do you know which chestnuts are good to use versus not when you get them inside?
Sure, and that's a lot of trial and error, but obviously the best round ones are always going to be the best. You're going to find a lot of flat ones, you're going to find a lot of discolored ones, or at the ends you're going to see a lot of discoloration. Just toss those, they're not worth your time.
So if they're real dark, don't worry about them. Toss them out. Okay, so now we've sorted them out. You typically like to wash them too, get all the dirt, grass, those sort of things off it. So what's the next step after they're washed?
Sure, so the next step is scoring them, which I've done a lot of different things. Used a knife, used a bandsaw. Easiest thing is a $10 scoring tool.
So the scoring tool makes it a lot easier to press it down, makes the marking, because basically you want to cut the shell open just a little bit.
Yep.
Definitely what you do with a knife, definitely a lot safer.
Yeah.
If you're gonna be processing a lot of chestnuts, that's a good investment to have.
Yep.
All right, so we've got them all scored. What's next?
So now you gotta put them in the oven. So I roast them at 400 degrees, about 25 to 30 minutes. You're gonna see the X shape of the scoring is gonna peel back. You're gonna see a lot of caramelization on the top. And yeah, let them sit there. Put a little bit of water on the pan. I put it on a pizza pan or a baking sheet. A little bit of water. That steam helps them open up.
All right, so once they're opened up, the reason we want to open up is it makes them easier to deal with, right? Easier to get the shell off.
Yep.
And then there's an interior kind of lining on the fruit or the nut itself that you got to get off, right?
Yeah, and that comes off a lot easier once they've been baked long enough and you've got that steam in there. It all just kind of pops out.
And what's your technique for getting them out of the shell?
So I like to take a white kitchen towel and put them in, give them a quick little crack, and then they just kind of pop out. And you got to do it kind of quick because once they cool down, it's a little bit tougher.
All right, so work with them while the chestnuts are still hot.
Yep.
So you got them out of the shell. What's next?
Next, depending on what I'm doing with them, I slice them or dice them, chop them up. If they're getting turned into flour, I like to do a slice. It lays better on my dehydrator. Put them in the dehydrator. Anywhere from 12 to 16 hours seems to work.
The main thing is when you get them out, you got to make sure this is dry before you process them farther. So you like to slice them, it makes them a little easier to handle on the dehydrator.
Yeah, if you have a big chunk on there, it's really going to hold that moisture. So
gotcha. Okay, so make sure it's always dry. So you've got them through the dehydrator process, then the milling process.
Yeah.
So tell us about how you like to do that.
So with the miller, you can try a food processor, but they are pretty tough once they're dried. So just ponied up and bought a spice miller, and that seems to work. A nice handful of them, 30 seconds in there, and you'll see you get this real fine powder. I use a mesh sieve to kind of separate it out a little bit, and you'll have some bigger chunks that you'll either run through again or just toss them.
Gotcha. So mill it a couple times, sift the chunks out, do those again. Now you said, no, don't mill it for a long time, otherwise it heats up and it gets a
it
blobby.
seems like it builds up some heat in there. You start to feel moisture and it starts to kind of get cakey. So yeah, just run it through 25-30 seconds, get all the fine stuff separated from the rough stuff, and do the rough stuff again.
All right, so very cool. So at that point, we've got a finished product, right?
Yeah.
So then how do you like to store it? Short term, long term, how do you like to store the chestnut flour?
Just a Ziploc baggie, as easy as can be. This lasts in the freezer. You don't even really have to vacuum seal it, just push the air out, fold it over. And this has been in my freezer for a year. Still powdery as can be, so.
What's nice about that too, you can put the cut measurements on it so you know how much you have when it comes to cooking.
Half cup.
Very cool. So now do you use that in like the same ratio as flour when cooking, or is it off a little bit?
It depends a little bit. Obviously, if I'm making pancakes, I'm going to use a mixture of different flours to try to get some sort of rise in those. If you just strictly go with the chestnut flour, it's going to be a little bit heavier. It's going to be a little bit flatter. Gotcha.
All right. Well, very cool. This is a great way to use chestnuts to make a gluten-free flour option. If you want to start growing your own chestnut trees, you can head over to starkrows.com.